host, Jameer Hayward, and I have William Teddy Portwine in the building once again. If you're looking for the real deal, he is all about it. This conversation tonight is going to be all about wisdom, of course, coming from the one and only Teddy Portwine. So I just want to give a huge shout out to my number one supporter, Todd Taylor, who's always in the building. I want to give a shout out to the I would say engineer for the night, but he's also the owner of FLO Empire Radio. And I want to give a shout out to the two guests that Teddy welcomed into the building tonight. So if you're tuning in, you can tune in to buildingsafercommunities.com/radio, and or you can call in to 929-227-4646. So Teddy, talk to us. It's all about you tonight.
Yeah.
I told this is your show pretty much. You're gonna drop as much knowledge as you can within the next 2 hours. And I know we don't have enough time for your knowledge, but
we're gonna get into it. But first I would like to thank my two brothers that came out to support me, BJ and True Carter. True just came back from Puerto Rico. We know the situation over there, so we talked some about that. And ironically, their mother and my father grew up together.
They're brothers.
We all brothers.
Okay. What? Those are your brothers?
Yeah.
Teddy, come on now.
Some of your brothers are biological.
Okay.
And, you know,
Okay. So now
these are my brothers.
Okay. I understand. All right. So talk to us. You want to start off with some of the conversations that we've had in the past in regard to Black history? Do you want to talk? We
can get into it. You just ask away, and I'm going to answer away.
All right. So talk to me about your first book. I'm interested.
Oh, The Trail of the Serpent.
Yes.
That book was 10 years of research, 1 year to write.
Okay.
It's about the Federal Reserve banking system.
Mm-hmm.
It's about why wars are fought. It's about the financial system. It's about commercial law. A lot of people in this country think that we have criminal law. We don't. We have commercial law with criminal penalties attached to it. We're governed by the Uniform Commercial Code because in 1871, the United States was incorporated in Great Britain, which is why most of your lawyers, when they pass their bar, which is the acronym for British Accreditation Regency, is because we're under the rule of Great Britain. Is
that a good thing or a bad thing?
Well, you tell me.
I don't know. You're the one with all the wisdom. I'm learning here.
Taxed. We went from having allodial titles, which there's no taxes involved, to having title deeds. So the whole system is basically set up for you to be economically enslaved.
How do we get out of that?
Bitcoin. Bing, bing, bing.
Did you mention that already? I was going to get to that at some point.
Bitcoin.
All right. Yeah, I know you had a post up about that, and Todd was telling me about it, and I did read some of it. And I had someone else drop the jewels on me in regard to Bitcoin, but I was like a little skeptical about it. So you want to talk a little bit about that?
Well, most people are. They think it's a scam. They think it's going to explode. But I'll say this. The financial system that you're under now is a scam. But the only reason you accept it because that's the only thing that you ever knew. But in The Trail of the Serpent, I talk about Abraham Lincoln creating greenbacks, which they wasn't interest-bearing bonds, which means you didn't have to pay any taxes on it. It was worth the value that it was. That's all Bitcoin is. It's cryptocurrency. It's a decentralized currency, non-taxable. The only time it becomes taxable if you transfer it back to U.S. dollars.
So what kind of money is it?
It's basically just cyber money.
So
the same way they do here.
So how do you get access to this cyber money? And when can you use this cyber money?
You can go to Coinbase.com and sign up, get an account. You go to Bittrex. It shows you all the coins there that's available. You purchase basically the Bitcoin because that's the most popular. And as we see, is almost 10 grand as predicted. Not a scam. You buy the Bitcoin, and then you can purchase other coins like that.
Okay. And does it matter how much money you put into each share? Or so if I wanted to put $5, is that okay?
Yes. You can start with $5.
Okay.
Because all it is, you can buy a portion of it. It's not like when you have a currency that's backed by a commodity. So then you have to buy X amount of dollars. Or if somebody purchases all the commodities, say like gold. If somebody corners the market in gold and gold becomes rare, then everybody suffers because only one person's holding the gold. But with cryptocurrency, the more you buy, the better everybody does because it's based on the circulation and the use.
Right, because you're buying a share. So is it in comparison to CDs and bonds and things like that for the bank?
Much better than that.
But are CDs and bonds still good, or?
I put it to you this way. You have some things like BitBeam that earns you 1% interest a day. That's 30% interest a month. Multiply that by 12. 1% a year you're getting basically. And then when they charge you the taxes for using your money to make money for themselves and to fund their wars and to collapse economies and take over other countries, you get nothing for your money.
Okay.
And then your money hurts other people.
So is Bitcoin the best way to go, or just one option? Are there other options out there?
That's one option. Litecoin is on the rise. You got Ripple, Dogecoin. There's so many coins. You know, you can look in the top 100 Bitcoins. What I try to do is, when I talk to people about it, I try to put it in terms of world affairs. Think about it. The IMF, the Federal Reserve Bank, and the World Bank basically go around collapsing economies. So they go, okay, we're going to go to war. We're going to wreck this place. We're going to fund both sides of the war. And whoever comes out the winner, you know, we win no matter what. Then what they do is they go back in and they say, okay, we're going to reorganize your loan. And you'll never get out of it because guess what? Now you got to hand over your sewage system. Now you got to hand over your oil. You got to let them build an army base wherever, and they basically can take control of your country like that. Then they put these vassals in place that they can control. We saw it in Haiti. Sweet Mickey, come on, he's the president of Haiti. So he's known for dropping his pants on stage and nasty lyrics.
I'm going to ask you a question about, this may seem like a little off, but I know you have some information about it. When you mention about the government, or I guess the powers that be out there taking over the land and things of that nature. So are you saying that here in New York City or across the state, if you own a home at any point in time, they can kind of come and sweep you
Eminent
out?
domain is alive, but you don't own the property anyway. Like I said.
You're scaring me.
I'm gonna tell you the truth. It's funny because I'm rewriting the first book now, and I'm adding pictures as well, but I extended some of the information. Basically what happens is your birth certificate.
Oh yeah, I heard about those.
Registers you in the system. Okay. So what they did was when they took us off the gold standard, and FDR basically was in office, this was like from the Great Depression on to the 30s. The whole system changed. Look at the banking holiday. He closed the banks because the banks couldn't afford to pay out. The Great Depression had people running to the bank saying, okay, we want to take our gold out of the bank. So they closed the banks and said, no. What we're going to do is we're going to give you these certificates. Okay? And they confiscated the gold, sent it out of the country, and then they made gold an illegal substance. So if you had more than 10 ounces of gold, you was fined $10,000 or you faced 10 years imprisonment. So
that was another way to control.
That was a way to get the gold, and it's basically the redistribution of wealth, because I took your wealth. I robbed you of your wealth. I sent it to Europe because the Rothschilds family basically runs out of Europe, the London Stock Exchange. If you study them, they tell you they don't care who's on the throne, which the sun never sets. Whoever controls the money supply runs England, and I control the money supply. So that's not even an argument. So how do you own anything? Being your own business, your own home, you know, property, commercial property. How do you own anything if everything is? There are different ways that you can do it. For me personally, if you're in this system and you're skeptical about something like a Bitcoin that is the wave of the future, the best thing that you can have in this country is a corporation. Why? Because basically what you can do is take all your assets, dump it into the corporation. You get a board, get an LLC or whatever fits your structure. So that's a limited liability company. Limited liability corporation. You turn around and you write a resolution and you have the board say, we agree to pay your room and board, your travel, and you don't own anything. The house belongs to the company, your car belongs to the company, and the company only get taxed what they don't spend. So that takes you out of the equation. Legally, you could be a millionaire and be on welfare.
Okay, so the board that you have for your LLC, they're pretty much free.
Yeah, you can be.
You don't have to hire anyone for your board.
Me,
you
myself, and I are still a legal fiction.
Okay, so you're your own board.
Who's going to do me better than me?
That's what I'm talking about. So now I don't feel too bad.
No, I mean, it is. You know what it is, and this is part of the conversation tonight. We live in a society that's controlled by a group of people. So they educated you to see things through their eyes so that they can manipulate you. They created laws to stop you from going outside of the box, to keep you pigeonholed. They've got you to believe in a political system that never serviced you. It serviced you for about, 12 years? And then they say, okay, niggas, you go right back to where you was. You have to take a look around you and see what's happening, okay? 1876, black folks in this country was deemed second-class citizens for life, okay? Then you had an influx of immigrants coming from Italy, Germany, and this is where your original gangs come from, not the Bloods and the Crips. We talking about like the Purple Gang and all those ruthless Jewish and Italian gangs that was killing each other for resources in this country. Okay? Now you have an influx of Asians, Indians coming in. You're now a third-class citizen because guess what? You don't own anything. Everything you have to go outside to get. Okay?
And what do you mean by go outside to get? Explain that a little bit.
Well, you don't produce any food. You don't own anything. Where do you get your stuff from? Even where do the sisters get their hair from?
Not here in New York.
You go to an Asian person that tells you about black products. That's crazy to me. So we don't produce anything. And this is not a knock. This is just the circumstances of a system that we've bought into. And so many of us that get in, as we call it, compromise. You know, we'll give you the lip service in public, behind closed doors, we don't want nothing to do with you. Guys like the Reverend Al Sharpton, you want nothing to do with that. I got friends who don't want nothing to do with that. And they're in the political realms. Love them to death, they my boys, but they suck at their jobs. They're horrible.
So why do they get into politics if they're going to be so harsh?
I believe that some, I'm not going to say all, because some have this idea that by being inside the system, I can actually change something, and that's a lie. If the system was designed to keep a certain group of people impoverished, then that's just what it is. You're not going to go in there and change anything. You'd be like JFK with a hole in your head. So you'd be like MLK and anybody else who can influence somebody on a national scale or international scale like a Malcolm X.
And you don't think any of that helps?
Helps what?
Helped us to be a better person, led some sense of empowerment.
We was born better people.
Okay.
We civilized the uncivilized. And now the uncivilized has turned us into them. We've been better people. We created language, science, mathematics, arts. We was the one that could look you in your eyes and see the color of your eyes and tell you what was wrong with you. If you don't believe me, study Emotep. We've been better people. We're not killers. We're not murderers. We're not a group of people that dealt in self-hatred and all of that. That was imposed on us because of what we went through. And we have to stop blaming each other for our demise. We're dealing with the effect and not the cause. Because most people don't want to talk about the cause because you don't want to offend white folk.
We'll talk about it a little bit because I'm interested.
Like I said, who's been the dominant host of society in America? Who's giving you education? Who's giving you your law? Who controls your health? Ain't black folks.
So how do we get out of this system?
We got to rely on each other. We got to start getting back to who we are. And we got to stop being ashamed of being black. We want to be everything but black. I got Indian in my family. You ain't from India. How are you Indian?
I get it. I totally get it. But I'm trying to reach a solution when you say we need to get back to, get back to our, I guess, naturalness.
Look at what you're doing here. You provide a platform for a person like me who's been kicked out of every institution known to man.
I wanted to talk to you a little bit about that too, because you put a post up about your some of your books being published in Barnes and Noble and Amazon and things like that, and how did you get the boot with those things because of your literature? And
Amazon is just it's just another mode. It's a business decision on my behalf. Okay, so that's not an issue. But I was supposed to have my stuff on the college campuses in Barnes and Nobles, and that just fell through. The young lady who was one of the managers she was at FIT, she left. She never told me she was leaving, she left. But one, I'm independent. Dominant society, or they don't like independence. We're demonized because we refuse to be a part of the system. We refuse to be exploited. So if enough people follow our business model, what do you have at the end of the day? I can't exploit you.
Right.
So the best thing to do is to demonize this man, or not give him the opportunity that you might give somebody else. We're not going to put the marketing dollars behind him. I turned down a deal with Random House out the box.
So with the colleges, was it that they were misleading your information that you wrote? Did they not want to give you?
Like I said, the young lady that was attempting to do that for me just left. She left. She went to Connecticut, I think. She never said anything. It was another professor that wanted me to come and do a series of lectures in his classroom, and he got fired like a week later. I'm not saying it's because of me. I'm just saying these are the circumstances. When me and Lorenzo Steele Jr., we were in Brownsville. You had assistant principal tell him to let the kids chase the ball because they didn't need no more education. She's a black woman. You have to understand, if you actually, especially in the education system, if you actually do something for these kids and they actually learn, there's no more state funding, because now these jobs got to go away. So if I'm a principal and I'm making roughly about $108,000 a year, and I got my Mercedes Benz and I want to live in Dix Hills, and I'm the star of the story, I'm not going to jeopardize that, because my funding is based on the kids failing.
So it's almost like selling your soul.
That's what it is. It's a compromise. It's what it is.
So what do we do about our education system? Because I know all three of my children went to charter schools. So I'm sending them to be taught by the teachers, who work there. And what's better, homeschooling?
I believe homeschooling. And this is why I believe homeschooling. Initially, that's how your kids got educated before they bought the compulsory education system here from Prussia. But they didn't want the parents to influence the kids. They wanted the state or the government to influence the kids.
Well, we see a lot of that now because there's a fine line between corporal punishment and discipline. So we know about that part.
Right. So I was listening to Sister Shahaz Ali. She said they had these kids that they homeschooled from kindergarten on up to 5th grade. They let them go to junior high school for 1 year, and they forgot everything that they was taught.
So they were brainwashed, basically, when they went to
dummied.
Okay.
How do you go from doing geometry and calculus as a 5th grader and not being able to do simple multiplication after they let you go to 6th grade in public school for 1 year?
No clue.
Okay. I was in a public school in Brooklyn, and they referred to Malcolm X as Malcolm the 10th. And they said the reason why they got Martin Luther King's birthday off was because he freed the slaves.
Misleading information.
I've been in schools where the school grade was an F. They got 11% out of 100%. And you go in the principal office, there's a placard on their desk for great service in the same year that the school is failing.
Wow.
And have the nerve to put the grade up on the bulletin board. The parents pass it and don't even acknowledge it.
And this is public school.
I got pictures of it. I couldn't believe it. I'm in English classes where I look at the papers up, they got 100, and there's at least 6 words misspelled. Everybody's getting paid.
I had a conversation with someone the other day who actually works in the school system, but not here within the 5 boroughs. And what she was explaining to me is that, she works in an impoverished neighborhood, and she teaches and tutors these students who are in the 8th grade, but they have a 3rd grade reading level, and they're not where they should be, in terms of mathematics and other academic areas. And my question to her was, what happened? Is it the parents? Is it the school system? What is it? Where have these kids? Where has the system gone wrong in regards to taking care of these children and their education?
It's a combination of things. First of all, think back 26, 30 years ago. What was happening?
Tell me.
Crack.
The epidemic.
So
but now it's heroin.
It's always been heroin.
But it's
white folks.
Right. I was just about to say it's a change in.
I'm gonna tell you a funny story quick. I had a white boy tell me the quickest way to get high with heroin is not to inject it in your vein. It was to take it and put it in your rectum, because that is where all your mucus glands are.
Okay.
Now, if that ain't a junkie, I don't know what is. Who thinks of that?
I've heard of the eyelids, under the eyelids.
Wherever the most mucus is supposed to be, it gets into your system faster because it dissolves it and breaks it down. But who thinks about putting heroin in their rectum? I had junkies in my family. They shot dope. They never thought about putting it in their rectum. So, it is what it is. But back to, you look at what was going on 26, 30 years ago. You had women on crack, men on crack. You had kids that was unattended to, kids that got molested, kids that got raped, kids that are traumatized. So now you're dealing with these children that are products of the crack era today.
That's true.
And, once again, I'm in Brownsville. 80% of Brownsville is functionally illiterate.
I know
just that one section. You know how big Brooklyn is.
Yes, I was about to say in Brooklyn they have the highest crime rate.
But once again, and my brother and I was talking about this earlier. Who put you in these circumstances?
That's where I get kind of, and I don't want to seem adversarial, right? But that's where I kind of question, because I say to myself, okay, yes, you may have been raised in New York City housing. Yes, you may have been less fortunate, not have had so much to eat. Maybe your parents, there was a cycle of being on public assistance, or however the case may be, depending on the government for funds and health insurance. But at some point in time, you can no longer blame the system. You can no longer blame your circumstances. I mean, this is just what I've heard, and some of it I kind of buy into, because you as an individual at some point have to be responsible and accountable for your own actions.
Really?
And I'm just, I'm playing around with this. Of course I want to know how you're feeling.
I'm just answering as you go.
Yeah, how you're feeling about it, because not everybody who's down has to stay down. Some people, again, they build strong morals and values. They're empowered by the forces or other people around them who haven't seen the light of day financially, or, living in a better neighborhood and things of that nature. You don't think that that's possible? You think
So the baby that's born on crack, what choice did they have?
Well, they didn't have a choice at that time.
Okay, so that crack can do very tremendous damage to their nervous system.
I agree with that.
As far as their learning capabilities.
I agree with that as well.
The young lady who gets raped and molested that's psychologically traumatized, what choice did she have?
She didn't have a choice at the time.
The young man who's molested by somebody he trusted, like a basketball coach or something like that.
At the time, no choice.
Okay.
But
now,
and I know sometimes people say anything after but is BS, right? But now I'm gonna throw this in there. You acknowledge the system that you lived in. You acknowledge the cycle of abuse. You acknowledge poverty. You acknowledge all of that. And at a certain age, when do you come out of minimizing, blaming, and denying?
Sometimes your circumstances basically causes you to do things that you normally wouldn't do.
I agree with that.
And those things that you normally wouldn't do can cost you your life, your freedom, or whatever, based on your circumstances.
I agree with that too.
Now, the ones that make it out, the ones who do escape a lot of that, it's something in them. Okay? For myself personally, I lived on Terrace Avenue in the 80s. That's a whole block of projects for people who don't know. I often frequented my brothers. They lived in Baisley projects. One of my closest friends that I played basketball with, Dave Edwards, lived in 40 projects. My cousins lived right over him in the next apartment. Their mother and my father grew up together in Queensbridge. I got family in Queensbridge.
So
my grandmother, my mother's mother, was in St. Nicholas projects.
I have family over there too.
Grand
houses.
I'm born
Abraham
in the Bronx.
Lincoln houses.
Right. I'm born in the Bronx, and I hung out in Brooklyn a lot. So, everybody's situation is not just that simple as making a choice. It's hard telling the dude, look, if you just stick to this, and he ain't ate in 3 days, it's going to be all right.
Well, no, there's a sense of learned helplessness in that, and I definitely understand. But what I'm saying is, nothing changes if nothing changes. Shout out to Keith's story. He always says that, and I kind of adopted that. And I think, I believe in, and this may sound a little crazy to you. I'm just throwing it out there. I believe in cognitive behavioral therapy, and the stance that, what you're thinking is how you feel, and how you feel is how you're going to react. We can constantly tell ourselves, if I sit here and I tell myself over and over again, you're nothing, you're never going to amount to anything, you're never going to make it, you came from a family of abuse, you came from a family of alcoholism or drugs, or however the case may be, you lived in poverty, you're never going to be anything, I'm constantly infiltrating those negative thoughts into my system, and I start to believe it. And then you have other people around you, like the school system, and sometimes your parents or whoever, telling you that it's impossible for you to make it out. You start believing it. But at some point, we all have a sense of resiliency to remove ourselves from that situation. It doesn't always work for all of us.
Some of us do.
There are some isolated events where,
some of us do. Like, I'll give you a prime example, and it goes back to the system. And we all around in the same age group. Our history was, we were slaves, we came here, and then we had Martin Luther King. What about all the powerful empires in Africa prior to that?
I agree.
What about the fact that we are the creators of science and technology? Now you take that, and we're in our 40s, which means we was in school approximately 39 years ago. We was in elementary school coming up. How many generations was taught that? I had a friend of mine whose father taught history that argued and said that Egypt wasn't in Africa. Black man, taught for over 20 years. I had to leave the house. I went to slap his father. Where did he get that from? And he's a teacher. He's an educator. Right. A black man. Black children, black wife. Where did he get that from?
Well, obviously it was taught and internalized, and I totally get that, right? But I can use myself as an example. As I get older, when I was younger, I was raised in a Christian home. We had to go to church. We had to, you listen to everything that your parents are telling you. Yes, this is the right thing to do. And then after you get out of that, you want to seek to be an individual. You want your own morals and values. So then you may pick up some things on your own. You may follow your friends, and then there's a community around you that's showing you certain things as well. And at a certain age, like I said, when I turn, I give myself 26. When I turn 26, it's like, okay, Jameer, you have to make some changes. When are you going to think outside the box, do things for yourself, acknowledge who you are, accept God into your life if that's what you want to do on your own pretense versus what you were raised under. So you change. I know I've changed.
But you said something very important. You said that you're influenced by what?
At the time I was influenced by my parents.
You were just saying, you was making a general statement when you said you're influenced by the people around you,
your community, your environment. Yes.
Proves my point.
Yes. No, I never disagreed. I do.
No, I'm not saying that. I'm just saying that statement alone just proves what I'm saying.
Yeah, you're influenced by that. But
if you're in the projects all day and you never even left your block,
then you don't know what's out there. That's true.
And see, also, like for me, I had a guy like him to look at. going to the CBA and being successful, playing against the first dream team and watching him play against Michael Jordan. Even after, you know, I was already on that path. But I had guys like him. I had guys like his brother who went to Florida University. For us, it was about going to a major D1. Now more so it's about going pro. We felt like if we went to major D1, we could get overseas and do something. You know, but, you know, and not to brag, we're the exception to the rule. Because for every one of us, there's a Roy Tarpley that went to the NBA and couldn't stay off drugs. For every one of us, there's a Kenny Anderson who has a horrible drinking problem, which is why he can't get employed by any team right now to coach. For every one of us, there is a Chris Washburn. You know, one of the young brothers that I saw come up in the community, Lamar Odom, just dealt with some things because of basketball masked him having to deal with his mother dying from cancer, his father being on drugs. But when the ball stopped bouncing and you don't address those issues, now what when the lights go out and the stage go off and the people ain't screaming your name and they don't love you no more? Now what happens? With all the money in the world, you almost OD and kill yourself.
Right.
So see, it's about the individual.
But also, I know that, you know, for some blacks, sports is a way out, you know, or a way towards education or, you know, and things of that nature. And being a mother of a 15-year-old son, you know, yes, he is athletic, you know, he is quite skillful in playing a lot of sports, but I don't instill that in him. I let him know that you're smart. So you want to use your brain versus your athletic skill to get you where you need to go. Of course, we know that it gets you scholarships and things of that nature. It's a door in for education. But when you have hardworking parents, you know, who are willing to put in the time and energy to pay for you to go to school, don't rely on sports. You know, I'm sorry, but I've never understood that. I know everybody is team sports,
no. What it is this. Like for us, single parent homes. Father not there. My college speech was, I hope you as good as the newspapers say you are because we ain't got no money for college.
Got it.
I can't argue with that. You clothed me, you kept food on the table, we moved from the projects to a home, and it's women doing this. I get that. So the thing was, you go out there and you showcase your talents with the hopes that some university will pick you up and then you take it from there.
But what about just being smart?
Let me tell you something about being smart for me. I had my English teacher tell me in my senior year with a 93 average in the class that he was going to fail me because his son was twice the student I was, and all my monkey ass had to do was put a basketball in the hoop for the rest of my life and I was set.
So it still is a sense of holding you back.
And he failed me. Now, the ironic thing about that is I go to summer school and the first thing you had to do was write a paper on anything we wanted to. So I wrote a paper on the impact of racism in the education system. So turned in the paper. 2 days later, the summer school teacher said, you know, William, I need to talk to you. So I said, okay. So she says, why are you here? So I said, well, I failed. I got to take it over. She says, don't play with me. She says, out of 31 papers, your paper's the only one that didn't need any corrections. The grammar is impeccable. What happened? When I told her, she said, you pass. Come back at the end of the school and get your grade.
Good stuff.
But the point of the fact is, even being smart, if that man saw me as taking an opportunity away from his son, I could have easily said, you know what? I'm going to go out here and get with my mans and them and get this money. I tried it. Boom. Okay? With me, it was like, I don't give a damn what you do because I'm not defined by basketball. I never let no one define me by basketball. Basketball was something that I did. It's not who I was. And I've always had that mentality. And be honest with you, I could care less about basketball. I cared less about it when I was playing with it. It was more a camaraderie thing with me, my friends. It was something that we did and enjoyed together. I never looked at it, you know, like this is it. You know?
You have a call on the line.
Okay.
Let's bring the caller in. Hi, caller. Who am I speaking with?
You're speaking with Floyd Townsend. How you doing, Jameer?
Hey, Mr. Townsend. How are you?
I'm all right. And Tar, how you doing? Mr. Williams.
Yes, sir.
You made an interesting point, right? So I'm sitting here looking at it on Facebook.
Okay.
But the thing that I wanted to say is that I work over here in the shelter.
Floyd, can you hear me? Do me a favor. Either turn the station down in the back and speak up into your phone because we can't really hear you.
Oh, I'm on a Bluetooth. All right, I'll take it.
Yeah, you're a little muffled.
All right. Can you hear me better now?
Perfect.
Okay. So the thing is that I work in a shelter, Ready, Willing, and Able, right? It's basically like a drug program, kind of like people that want to get themselves together. They go to this program, and they work. They go out and make honest money. I'm saying that to say this: a lot of young kids come in. It's a drug problem that's going on, right? And just as I was when I was younger, my negatives was my positive, and my positive was my negative. It's the same way that the black kids, because it's predominantly black over here, they look at the same thing. How can I be better? They want to do better, but they don't do better because they stuck on a drug that they have out called K2, spice.
Right.
Right. It's not crack. It's not crack anymore. It's not. It is heroin, but it's not heroin in our area no more. It's heroin in the white people area now.
Right.
So that's a big thing over there. But in our area, Harlem, Bronx, Staten Island, in the city area, it is even in the jail system is spice, K2. This is what our kids is dying from. So I have a whole bunch of these kids that come into the shelter and they hooked on this stuff, and when you try to help them do something, they don't want the help because of this drug that is taking over on them. So the business, I respect your business, right? To help the kids, we need more people to come into the neighborhood and pull up the kids out of the neighborhood and show them things that you're doing. Things that other people that have businesses like such as Jameer. Bring them onto the show. Bring the younger kids onto the show. Go talk to them. Let them know that it's something else. The job that Jameer is doing is phenomenal. I really do respect the job that you're doing. I really do respect that you're trying to build this community and make it better.
Thank you.
But now we also have to dig deep into the kids that's out here also. Because they're being affected. These projects, the kids that's in the project, the kids that's hanging out in the corner, 19 years old, 15 years old, and hooked on drugs. Don't have nowhere to go. They're homeless.
Floyd, give me a minute.
You understand what I'm saying?
Floyd, give me a minute. Yeah. Let me allow Teddy to address some of the things that you've said, because you've made you've hit a lot of key points, and I want to make sure Teddy gets to answer your question and also address your statements. Okay, so hold on 1 second.
Okay.
Go ahead, Teddy.
No, I mean, I agree, and I've seen what the K2 does, but this is a part of my argument, and you kind of solidified it as well. We've been seeing this going on for years and years and years, and we've been seeing it impact certain communities, but as soon as it hits another community, it's a problem. So once again, we're not in control of this. One of the biggest drug dealers I ever seen in my life was Bush Sr. How much cocaine did him and Noriega sell worldwide? Anything after that is not a drug dealer. If you're not in the government, I don't consider you a drug dealer. I consider you a peddler and a fool. So these are the things that we have to really look at also. And for the record, I had a show called Teen Talk TV where I did bring out the teens, and we brought folks that was in programs like yours that wanted to do better, wanted to be better. And by putting them on TV and letting them voice their opinion, a lot of them turned out to be great young folks. They finished school. They went on to be, productive citizens and all of that. And the thing with me is, it doesn't stop with the TV show. A lot of them have my personal number where they could call me, and I would encourage them as they went. So we do those things. We had Brett Scudder, who has a suicide hotline. He saved over 1,000 lives last year.
Good stuff.
I have tremendous amount of resources.
Give me one second. Give me 1 second. So, Floyd, I want to make sure that we get to the other two callers on the line, and I also want to make sure that Teddy addresses some of your statements without rushing you off. Do you have another statement that you want to make before we take another caller?
No, that's good. You know, because I don't want to take too much time because I can talk about a lot of stuff. So, but I appreciate the work that you're doing. Keep up the good work. All right.
All right, good stuff. Thank you so much for calling in and your support, Floyd. We appreciate you.
All right, no problem.
All right. We have another caller? Okay. So, Teddy, I know, again, you know, dealing with, you know, working for nonprofit organizations and dealing with some people who suffer from mental health and also substance, you know, having a history of substance abuse, it is hard. And now, you know, they have a specialized part that deals with the youth who are also suffering from drug addiction and mental health. But before we get to that, let's bring on the other caller really quickly. Hi, caller. Who am I speaking with?
This is Jason Curry.
Hi, Mr. Curry. How are you?
JC, what's up, baby?
I'm doing great. You know, you're doing a great job, and I saw my boy Tedddy Portwine on. I've been listening for the past 10 minutes, and I just wanted to salute both of you and just tell Ted in particular, man, I'm really enjoying listening to you. You sound sharp. I think I might have even seen the camera pan over to True and BJ in the background, if I'm correct, man. But if so, man, I'm so happy and proud to call you guys friends of mine. And Ted, man, I just want to congratulate you and salute you, man. Tell you sound awesome tonight, man. And
thank you, brother.
I'm locked and loaded right now.
Thank you, brother. You continue the work you're doing, man. I appreciate you as well.
And Jason, Todd just put you on the spot. He whispered to me. He said, "When you coming on the show?"
Wait, who said that?
Todd. He put you on the spot.
No. See, Todd did this backwards. After listening to Ted, he should have had me come on first. I'm not gonna follow up on Ted's genius right now. I'm always willing to support, man. Todd has always been good to me, man. So, Todd, just hit me up, man. I love to come in and support what you have going on. Absolutely.
Good stuff. Thank you so much for calling in.
All right, then.
We appreciate your support.
All right.
All right. We have another call, or are we good? Okay. So yeah, let's address this drug epidemic a little bit more, because I know that a lot of young children nowadays are overdosing on heroin. Some of them, and let me just give a little bit of knowledge that I know about it. Some people are going in. Some people are going into the hospitals and they're being given pain medication, and when the pain medication is done and they can no longer get a prescription, and this is not all cases, just some cases, I don't want to be stereotypical, when the pain medication is done and they can no longer get another prescription, they go to the next best thing, which is heroin. Some of our children who are athletes also are being prescribed pain medication, and then they seek other drugs to help them get through or manage the pain that they're experiencing.
Well, I've been through that.
Okay.
My first year of college, you know, anybody who's played, when you're the type of guard that's athletic and fast, they try to slow you down. So they're constantly kneeing you in your thigh and stepping on your foot. And I got hooked on codeine. You know, I was beat up really bad. So the trainer would give you these bottles of codeine. Taking the codeine, feeling good, getting through the games. And then one day I came home after the season was over, because we lived off campus. We had our own apartments. And I go to brush my teeth, and I just opened the medicine cabinet. There was nothing but bottles of codeine in there. And it became a habit like that, because I was taking it because I was so used to taking it. Not that I needed it.
You became
physically
physically
a routine.
addicted.
And when I realized it, I took all of that stuff, put it in the garbage bag, and threw it out. So it's that easy. Now, the hypocrisy of it is this. They would give you codeine and all kinds of opiates to perform on the floor. But if you go out and sniff cocaine or smoke marijuana, they'll penalize you because they can't control it.
Right.
So once again, what does it come back to? A system of control. You are my property, and I determine where and what you can do, what you can say,
and
how you can act, which is why a lot of people won't say the things that I'm saying.
That's right. Let me bring in the next caller. Oh, they hung up. Okay. Continue. I'm sorry, Teddy.
So, you know, even in high school, when you had, there was a lot of, let me
bring them in.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Teddy. Caller, are you on the line?
Yes.
Hi, who am I speaking with?
Eric Wilcox.
Hey, Mr. Wilcox.
Cox,
How are you?
what's up, Cox?
Where you calling from?
Southside, baby.
Okay, all right, in the house. You have a statement or a question for Teddy?
Ted stole all my ideas.
That was a good one.
Cox, boy. That's my big brother Cox right there.
All right, he stole all your ideas?
Yeah,
They're laughing in the background as you hot too.
He came
Okay.
studied me for years. He studied me for years. Yeah.
So Cox, we can hear you have to turn down the station while you're on the line because we can hear both the echoing. So you have you no, it's not, it's us.
No, that's that loop in.
The loop, yeah. So you have a statement for Teddy or a question?
No, I just want to let him know how proud I am of him. We usually hang out and talk about a lot of things, and I know he's used a lot of stuff that we've done, and talked about over the years. I'm just glad to see he's putting it into action, and hopefully we can get together and do something else in the future.
So this was all your idea.
Not all of it, but you know what it is. It's a lot of people don't realize that all you have to do is have your heart in the right place, and a lot of things can get done. A lot of people's heart are not in the right place. And, if you're looking to make a lot of money off of this, it's not going to be a lot of money there. You gotta want to help people. That's it. Mm-hmm. That's what it comes down to.
Mm-hmm. So it's something like passion, huh, Teddy?
Yeah, and just for the record, I got hurt on the job in 2012. I tore my meniscus and fractured my kneecap in 4 places. It was Will Cox and another friend of mine named Ralph Jenkins who held me down.
And how long have you guys been friends? Because I get on Todd about this all the time. He got friends for 30 years, 40 years.
Well, I'll put it to you this way.
That's some good stuff.
I'll put it to you this way. With me, there's no Johnny-come-latelys. So Eric knew me since I was about 15.
Mm-hmm. That's good stuff. That's good stuff.
31 years.
I like that. That's admirable. I always tell Todd that the people that you can have in your life at 30 years and better is something to talk about. I mean,
like I said, I count my friends on my hand. Like I said, these are my brothers. They're not even my friends. These are my brothers. So, it was, for me, it was the Carter family. It was the Bazell family. It was the Jocelyn family. Those are my extended family. And if I forgot anyone else out there, forgive me. But I always had places to go to be in that environment. Like with their family, they got a very huge family. So all the kids, they're grown now. Being around all the kids and watching them develop really makes me mindful of my job.
Eric, you still on the line?
Yes, I am.
Okay. You have another comment before we drop the line?
Yes, I do. Okay. I have one last comment.
I know this was all your idea. You sat with Ted. No, go ahead, Eric.
No, well, listen, Mr. Portwine doesn't bring this up a lot, but he's done a lot for me personally, and I wanted to thank him. I know we went through a lot back in the days when he was younger, and I've seen a change in him, and he's taught me so much that it made me change my game. I ran an after-school program for 25 years.
Nice.
So, I thought I knew everything. Then I got with this guy, and we just hit it off, and we started building like on a daily basis. Like every day we would talk, and I would learn so much from him, and I just want to let him know I appreciate everything he did for me because, now I see life in a different light just because of our little conversation. And he don't realize I never told him this, and I just wanted to thank him. That was it.
I appreciate
that.
That
was nice.
He's a lot younger than me, but and you can learn from anybody. So
I
that's
agree with
just
that.
Something that I never, really told him.
Thanks, Cox. I appreciate it, man.
Well,
and stay in that gym, man. I'm watching you, man. I'm proud of you, man. Stay on top of that.
Well, thank you so much for calling in. We appreciate your support.
All right, thank you, and I'll be listening to the rest of the show.
All right, good stuff.
Good night.
Cut.
So I have to say the same thing. I mean, you've been on the show. I think this is maybe your third or fourth time on the show.
Yeah.
And every time you come, it's like, I'm sitting there like, what? Is this really happening? Like, this is more information that, you just enlighten, and I can appreciate that. But what I want to know is, how did you start out? Like, what made you come to this conclusion to say, I'm just going to study, I'm going to read, I'm going to write books, I'm going to educate, and then doing it out of passion? Because as Eric just said, I'm not sure, but a lot of us don't get paid enough for what we do from our hearts. So
it depends on how you define payment. I mean, my long-standing relationships is reward enough. The fact that I have a son, they have sons, grandchildren, this is something that's on the record that they can refer to that may change something in their lives. Like I said, I look at my family, I look at your family, I look at everybody's family that I'm connected to, and I just try to make a statement for the record so that these kids know why. Why is this like this? Why is that like that? That's my contribution. It's about legacy. Not really about money. I mean, anybody can make money. I mean, the Taco Bell dog is richer than anybody in this room. So it don't take much to make money. Money shouldn't be the end all be all.
that is correct.
I mean, the last time I was here, I had Christina Wu with me. She was my girlfriend over 20 years ago. But I'm able to support her and empower her as a male. And the other women in my life as well. My sister, makeup artist, tremendous talent. BJ's daughter.
Yes, you
she's
actually tagged her on. Yeah, I
she's
noticed
on
that.
She's on the road now, but hopefully she gets a chance to stop. She's doing makeup for a play with Jackie Harry and Shirley Murdoch, Johnny Gill.
Good stuff.
She's doing her thing. I'm very proud of her. She found her passion and she turned it into a business. But these are all the things that I think about. It's bigger than me, and it's so much more than just making money and having houses and cars. It's so much more than that. I saw a lot of good people die for no reason at all. That could have been the next leader.
Are you afraid that you're gonna? Well, let me not say that. There've been stories that I've heard about people who are knowledgeable, such as yourself, that people want to get rid of because they don't want the knowledge to get out there. They don't want our people to be educated. How do you feel about that?
I'll be honest with you. I haven't been scared of anything since I was about 7 years old. It was something that happened in my life, and it just made me realize at that age that the world is a very cold, cruel place. And that it doesn't matter what your age is. You can be victimized just like anybody else. So I thank those FBI agents for that. That raided my home and pulled guns out on me and my brother.
What did it teach you?
Nobody gives a damn. This world does not care whether your mother's sick. Nothing. It's a very cruel place. If you look at just social media, people make comments about people's kids that they don't even know. They're very cruel, and now people think they can say anything and hide behind a keyboard. But the way that I was raised was, listen, it's an OG in the hood named Shorty Black that told me one day, there's rules to doing wrong. And he was knee deep into it. So you have to have respect, because what you say, the era that we grew up in, what you say and what you do may cost you your life.
I believe that.
So now moving into the corporate sector, these guys feel they can bully you because they haven't been through what you've been through, and they feel like they can hide behind a corporation. But here's the thing, anybody can be touched. And if you don't think so, then you're a fool. And I respect that. And that's what governs my life now. I'm very respectful. I don't go out my way to harm people. There's a lot of things that are said to me and about me, and I just brush it off, because when I put the key in the door at the end of the day and I open my door, I don't see any of those people. So it's not personal for me. It's only business. And I'm not going to give you energy to boost you and take away from me, or to embarrass my family and what we've done in our lives, in our legacies. I'm just not going to do it. I don't buy into that. You know, so I'm not scared of anything. I can leave here tonight, God forbid, cross the street, get hit by a car, it could be over. So the only thing I have is my voice, and I'm going to use it. Whether you like it or not, that's up to you. I don't care. You know, there's a bigger picture here. You know, you got to look at the babies, because what we do today has the power to impact millions of lives that's not even born yet.
I agree with
Every
that.
decision you make or don't make, every compromise you make, it could destroy a whole generation. So you have to be mindful of that.
So your strength comes from everything that you've experienced in your life, or
I've
your
been through-
experiences in others, or
I've been through things that I've seen. My grandmothers, my grandfather, you know, my grandmothers was like, they was thugs, man. Gangsters. So for women, and this is why I respect women in general, to see those two women not really educated, to come up 4 or 5 kids, no man in the house. My father's mother, her husband actually left money on the dresser and told her good luck. And to see her go from that to working for transit and having a home for us and having a better quality of life for us, you got to respect that. Like, people look at women as weak because of patriarchy, and just, like, once again, that's the system that we're under. But women are very strong. They endure a lot. They persevere. They don't run from their responsibilities like a lot of men do. You know, they don't have that luxury. So, you know, I respect women a great deal.
shout out to those fathers though who are single
No,
parents
the
who are hanging in
fathers
there,
that do
right?
anything. This is not to take away from these guys, but you got to remember one thing, and I don't care who you are. There's always a time in a man's life when he's totally dependent on a woman, because when he's in her stomach, when she eats, how she thinks, her moods, her environment affects him. So no man can
Say that one more time. No, just
That's the God honest truth. You know, that's the God honest truth. And, you know, coming out of the Christian church, that was one of my biggest arguments. You telling me that we have 3 men that created this baby, and I ain't meet a baby yet, or a person that ain't have a navel or umbilical cord. How does that work?
yes.
You know, so that's a whole nother story, and we ain't gonna get into that because that's gonna lead into something else.
I do have a question though, based on respect in our generation and how it's just totally out of control. Social media. I wanted to ask, because I have a lot of statements to make and I want you to address them. So with social media, we know that there's a lot of disrespect going on. People do hide behind the keyboard. This is their way to express themselves, sometimes become overnight success stories and things of that nature. How and I'm not saying social media is bad. It can be used for the greater good, and and it has been, but we have so many young people and adults that don't set clear good examples, that are doing things on social media, saying things on social media, and the competition that's on social media is ridiculous. What do you say about that? And how do we stay focused?
Well, for me personally, I got on social media with in mind to just inspire and educate people. My mother's a Facebook friend of mine's, and I would never, ever, in private or in public, embarrass her.
Good stuff.
First and foremost. Once again, my family, I would never do anything to embarrass them. You know, once you know somebody, people will stop you in the street and say, hey, what's up with your man? Or what's up with your boy? You know, I don't want that. People to have to burden that are associated with me. You know, I have pride in what I do, integrity in what I do. You know, so for me, it's about empowerment. It's just a tool to empower yourself. You know, I've connected a lot of people that are in the same industries. I've mended some old wounds through social media. You know, I try to put people together to create things and opportunities for other people. That's what I use it for. That's it. You know, as far as the competition go, people who think they're competing, you don't have any competition. You're your competition. That's it. I don't look at what you do or what Todd does and do what I do based on you. I support you in what you do, and I do what I do. I stay in my lane, and I support you in yours.
That's some good stuff.
That's it. There's no jealousy. There's no animosity. I know who I am. I know who you are. Simple. We complicate things.
Right. So when we speak about respect, I want to go back to that a little bit. And some of the women out there don't respect themselves with the things that they're doing, and I think first and foremost you need to respect yourself, and then and only then can you respect others, and you even can respect people who don't respect you when you respect yourself. But we have women who are just out of control, and I can't say I 100% blame some of the men and some of the young boys that are out there, you know, showing another side of themselves when it comes down to a female. What do you feel about that?
Well, it's rough. It's rough, and I'm not giving these women an escape, but the world we live in today, like it was a time where a female might have to worry about another woman taking her man. Then she had to worry about a white woman taking her man. Then she had to worry about the Asian woman taking her man. Now she might have to worry about another man taking her man.
I knew you were going there.
So it's very hard. So if you're the type of person that really wants a companion and you're into companionship, it's easy to fall into that category. I always say the women in my life were friends before anything, and that's why we maintain even apart. And then the other women that are in my life, we're just friends, and that's it. There's no ulterior motive. They're very smart. They're very brilliant. They have a lot of talent. They're very attractive. But intelligence is what attracts me. I don't like dumb women. Dumb women are turned off. I don't care what you look like. You could be 300 pounds. You could look like Biggie Smalls and have a droopy eye and the whole nine. If you intelligent, I'll mess with you. If you dumb, I'll leave you right where you at. Right. So, you know, with all this going on and these reality TV shows and, you know, people watching so much of TV now that it affects where your reptile side of your brain takes over with the reasoning, you can't differentiate reality from fantasy, and you're living in this matrix, and you're bugging out. So
some of those cartoons that the children used to watch, they kind of had a psychological effect on the
That's what it's for. But you know, this is what this conversation is about. We don't understand that this is a system, and all these independent entities act interdependently to get a result. They're in it together. I don't care whether it's your health, religion, politics, whatever. I mean, I saw a young lady one day that was doing some great work, and I said, well, you know, that's that goddess energy. She said, you crazy? I give the glory to Jesus Christ, my Lord and Savior. So she wouldn't even take the credit for being who she was, because she's been so conditioned to believe in spookism that she gave it to this white dude. I mean, look at what we do.
Wait, is religion is spookism?
Psh, why ain't it?
Okay.
This is what I'll do tonight.
I know.
Because this is what I'll do tonight.
I'm being bad.
And this is the question I'm going to pose. If Jesus Christ existed, if Abraham or Moses or any one of them existed, show me where that gravesite is.
Point blank, period, and we'll leave it at that. And I'll wait for the answers, you know, because I think, you know, again, as a
and don't give me scriptures and emotionalism.
As a young woman growing up in a Christian home, I was told a lot of different things, and as I got older, I started seeking this higher power for myself, and you realize that certain things are not as they were taught, and that's not to say, you know, to generalize and say that you shouldn't have something that you believe in, because you should.
Not at all.
But yeah.
But my thing is this, especially for black women, my sisters. The whole idea behind Christianity was to get rid of you as the goddess principle. Isis, a set. Then you got Mary, and then you got the Holy Spirit, who we refer to in masculine form. So you got the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit bringing forth life. That's 3 men. That sounds like a homosexual trinity to me.
I never thought about it that way. You see
Trying
what I'm
to
talking
tell
about?
you.
Every time he comes, it just gives me more
So,
things to think about.
When you talk about the Old Testament being in Hebrew and the New Testament, which brings in Jesus Christ from the beginning in Greek, what were the Greeks about?
Tell us.
Pederasty. They believed that a true love was between man and man and man and boy, and women was only for procreation. That's where the patriarchy comes in and matriarch goes out.
That's deep. Let me go backward before I forget this question that I wanted to ask you, because I know you mentioned a lot about being in a, being raised in a single parent home and the woman being pretty much the strength, and how, there should be a holistic respect for a woman. I've heard people sit down, people have sat down and spoke to me about mothers who raise their sons, but they're raising their sons to be their man.
A lot of that is true. A lot of that is true. And
or the man that they would have wanted to be with.
Well, a lot of times what happened is, and a lot of women could probably relate to this. Some of them may refute it.
Let me slide one more thing in there. And the other thing is sometimes, not all the time, because we know that there are single mothers out there who can raise their children on their own, and it works out fine. But also demasculating their sons.
Well, that's a part. That's a part of it.
Okay.
That's a part of it. One of my issues in relationships has been, you want me to be a punk when you want to do what you want to do, but you want me to be a man when you mess up. But then when I fix it, you don't want to hear what I got to say. Either you want a punk or you want a man. There is no crossing the line. So what happens is, you go find a punk, then you go, you know what? This guy might have said some things that I didn't like, but he took care of business. This is like being with myself. I want to be catered to. I don't want to have to take care of no man. Unfortunately, a lot of mothers today are raising young men to be some other woman's headache. And it's not totally her fault. The man has a part to play in it too. It's just that simple. You have a lot of men out there that want to be involved in their sons' lives or their children's lives, but because of whatever rift we got going on, it ain't happening. And then the court enables you, and you need to understand something about the court system. The same way in slavery that the man was not allowed to participate in raising his children, and the women relied on the master for everything, and his children relied on the master for everything. That is the welfare system, and that is the child court system. So we need to come to some common ground, and we need to really learn how to just respect our differences and move on.
So let me just throw something out there. So if a parent, because this could be a father or a mother who needs more financial support from the absent parent, are you saying that they shouldn't go? It's not suggested that they go through the court system, that they try to work it out on their own.
You have some instances
or
where,
walk away.
You have some instances where there's some brothers that want to do the right thing, or there's some women that want to do the right thing.
Right.
But like my friend, right? We was having this conversation one time, and she says, my boyfriend's always drunk. I said, well, where did you meet him? At the bar. I said, so when you met him, he was drunk. You knew what you was getting? So a lot of times, and this is not the dog women, I hear more and more, I thought I could change him. Big mistake.
It's exhausting.
Right. And for the men out there that flash the cash, and you get the one with the cash, don't turn around and say, she only want me for my money. That's how you presented yourself.
Opened up the can of worms.
Women say, okay, you going to be a herb? You going to be a sucker? You going to be a trick? I'm going to treat you like a trick. They don't respect you. And they're going to ride it for as long as they can. A lot of women do that. Simple. I give you prime. I just show you how things go. I was out having drinks and dinner with a friend of mine. Her name is Kashana Harris, one of my good friends. Hell of a producer. She's into film. 2 young ladies walk in, hair done, nails done, toes done, smelling good. I appreciate that. I asked the bartender, what are they drinking? Send them drinks. Just to say thank you. I appreciate that. The whole environment just changed.
Did they take it somewhere else?
They told me, this was the sad part about it. They kept looking down. First of all, they kept looking down the bar at me and Kashana. And I was wondering why, they kept looking down. So, I asked them. And they said, well, normally when a guy buys you a drink, there's an expectation. And I said, if all you cost is a drink, I go across the street to the Rusty Nail for that. You know what I mean? And have less headaches. But the reason why I sent you the drinks is because I appreciate you taking the time to take care of yourself, to make my environment.
Did you tell them that?
Yeah.
Okay. And what was their response?
They were just shocked. They said, men don't do that anymore. But that's how I was raised. My uncles, that's how I was raised. You respect and appreciate women. And if a woman's a problem, that's what you walk away from.
And some people can take that as being flirtatious, or
no.
Out of context. That's why I said, how did they take that?
No, I respect women and I appreciate them.
Okay.
I don't want to be around a bunch of sweaty men.
Well, not as a man, no, right?
Right. So if I see a good looking woman that takes care of herself and she comes in the spot, I'm acknowledge that. What's a drink now? Like $7, $8? Like, come on.
That's
costs more than that to go to brothel. That's nothing.
Talk to me about the prison system, Teddy.
We're part. Many.
So are you okay with this idea of shutting down Rikers, and is that going to happen?
Get them out.
Why do you say that? Talk to me about that.
I think the last time I mentioned it, when private prison contracts became available in the 1890s, the imprisonment of black men jumped 900% while everybody else has stayed the same. All I'm here to say, it's a system. That's all I've been trying to say the whole time. It's the system, and we have no control over it.
So what do you think is gonna happen with that space if they decide to close Rikers or relocate? Because that's what's gonna happen.
They'll probably make some luxury apartments. They'll probably make some condos.
Even if the air quality is not good, and
When did that ever make a difference?
Okay. Because there's been a lot of talk about that. I actually wanted to have a show all about Rikers Island and things of their reasoning for closing Rikers and where the jails will be relocated to and things of that nature.
But here's the thing, right? Like I studied Dr. John Heinrich Clark, and he always made the statement that in Africa, we didn't have a word in our language for jail, or that meant jail or jail system. That is not who we are. So ask yourself, who cages us like animals? Who's the one that created the castles at Elmina?
Hit us with the knowledge.
Who's the one that built those slave dungeons all up and down the Ivory Coast and the Gold Coast?
Hit us with the knowledge.
So where does the prison system come from? Europeans. They approach everything like everything is a problem that needs to be solved. You just leave it alone and let nature take its course. They're too busy trying to play God.
Right.
You're not God.
Isn't there a book that was written, and I forgot the name of the book, whereas when a young black boy is in a certain grade and based on his academics, they determine whether or not he's going to go to prison and how many prisons they build. Dr.
Jawanza Kunjufu. Very, very great scholar. I study his work as well. And also Michael Porter. Those two men right there have done tremendous work. Mr. Baruti, now the irritated genius Sufis is picking that up. They can determine by your grades. And that's why so many young men are basically you're encouraged to fail. It's a system. I remember being in school and I was like always in SP classes and stuff like that. For folks who might not be in my age range, SP is like the smart, and then you got A1, A2,
or talented and gifted.
Right. So my thing was I wanted to be around all the pretty girls, so all the pretty girls was in SP. So I based on getting my grades on being around the pretty girls, you know. But I remember I used to always have answers. They would be the correct answer. And for some reason, the teacher would be like, no, that's not the answer. Somebody else would say the same exact thing, and they'd be like, good. And I'd be sitting there like, I just said that.
Wow.
So already it was happening to me. Psychologically, they was trying to defeat me. But because my personality is like, the harder you push me, the more pressure you put on me, the better I do. Because if I feel like I'm not being challenged, I lay dormant.
Right.
Which is why I'm always doing something, because I have to have challenges in my life. So I saw it back then.
When do you sleep with all this knowledge? Where do you retain all this knowledge?
Just a lot of studies. You know, my brothers and I talk about a lot of things. Todd and I have talked about a lot of things in our personal lives and things we witness in our fields that we work in. And, you know, I've been averaging about 4 hours sleep a day for the past decade. So.
Okay, so I'm not doing too bad. I get 6.
No, I mean, it's the work. I mean, I'm assistant basketball coach. You know, I'm writing books. I run my own business, and I got a 9 to 5. So that doesn't leave much time for anything else.
Okay, so I'm glad that you said you have a 9 to 5, because some people would say that's like working on a plantation. It is. Okay, so why?
Child support payments don't stop though.
That's right. So how do you keep? How do you work all these different entities?
I just
9 to 5, own business, the basketball team and stuff like that, devoting time and energy to the community.
Well, once you know how to operate, you can maximize the smallest bit of time. You can make it count. You just have to be disciplined in how you approach things. There's a method to my madness. So if I have a lot of time to do this, I get this amount of stuff done, knowing that going forward, that's going to bear this amount of fruit. So I pace myself. When I'm at the job, that's just a job. You know, it's a job.
Okay.
I sit there and I listen to folks. You know, they tell me when I can go to lunch, when I go to the bathroom. I say, yes, sir, boss. Thank you. Thank you very much.
I don't believe you say
yes,
that. I can't see you saying that. I can see you being respectful.
I go to lunch now.
But I don't see you doing all that.
Thank you.
That's crazy.
And then they look at my Facebook page and go, he's a damn rebel. He's a revolutionary. Don't fall for it.
Yeah, so how do you deal with that, though? How do you deal with the pressures of that?
I ain't hiding from nobody. I get a lot of respect in my job because if you know me personally, if I like you, I like you. If I deal with you, I deal with you. If I don't, I don't. It's not personal. Like most of us, the people that we interact with at our jobs, if it wasn't for the sake of money, we wouldn't know them because we probably didn't know them in our regular lives. So it's not personal.
Right.
Only business.
So you know,
I can't see nothing, man. I'm blind.
You know good how to separate professional and personal.
Yeah, it's not personal. Oh, okay. Yeah, so it's just business. It's not personal.
So talk to us about your second book. I know you gave us some information about the first one. What about the second one?
The second book was, what was the second book? The second book was actually a book on Islam. It was called Defending the Word. That is when I was in the church. And I wrote a comparison of the doctrines and all the falsehoods. The third book was The Grand Masters, which was a follow-up to the first book. But it talked about the relationships in Europe prior to coming to America and forming like the Council of Foreign Relations and all of that, and how those things work.
And do you believe in a higher power, not necessarily, you know,
of course
the Holy Trinity? Okay.
Of course I do. I just don't believe in white Jesus. Same way I don't believe in Satan Claus.
Okay.
Or the Easter Bunny.
these made up holidays. You know, I've been trying to get out of. One thing that I like about Christmas is the real tree. But what does that simplify?
As far as what?
The Christmas tree with the balls and the ornaments and all that other good stuff that you put on the tree.
That is a pagan worship ritual. Matter of fact, for you Christians, you go to Jeremiah chapter 10, starting at verse 1. It says, "Do not practice the way of the heathen. Do not cut down the tree and stand it upright and deck it down with ornaments." But every year at Christmas, what do you see behind the preacher? Big old Christmas tree right in the pulpit.
I mean, I have to say, you know, at one point,
celebrating the birthday of somebody who never existed. They crazy.
I like the real tree. I don't believe in, like, you know, when we talk about finances and things like that, you know, people going out and spending excessive amounts of money and getting into debt, you know, to spoil their family members. And I'm still trying to get my children to understand that. And it's hard. But over the last, I would say, 5 years, maybe 6 years, I've kind of cut down on the amount of money that I spend.
But think about
and
that.
also actually celebrating the world's meaning of Christmas.
But think about that concept. They created this holiday to redistribute the wealth again, and we fell for it. Hook, line, and sinker.
So you telling me you don't go shopping on Black Friday or Cyber Monday?
What?
I'm playing. I'm being evil now.
I'm down. I'm down with Green Tuesday. You know what that is?
What's Green Tuesday?
When I go collect my money from the vendors. Give me my money, damn it.
Yes.
I need my bread.
Yes.
That's
Are you a veteran?
Yeah. I survived some of the most harsh neighborhoods in America. Yeah.
The reason why I asked that is because you said you have, vendors. You know, sometimes it's hard to get your vendor's license.
No, what I do is I deal with a lot of street vendors because I always believe in grassroots business. If there was no money in the streets, there wouldn't be any businesses on the sidewalk.
Yeah, because that was kind of disrespectful. I remember back in the day, they on 125th Street and sometimes 3rd Avenue, they had all those good businesses out there, and you can stop and get. And it seems like it's coming back a little bit more, you know, and it's becoming a little bit more diverse.
But that's how Macy's was created. Those Jewish boys went around and they laid out their goods, and you bought the goods, and they parlayed that into department stores. Which is why, you know, I'm kind of disappointed that Black Star Bookstore and Entertainment went out of business, because I watched Pop and those guys grind from selling mixtapes on the curb to having that property. But in Harlem now, they priced out.
And I want to go back just really quickly, because I don't know if I got your answer. But do you think are you in favor of them closing Rikers Island or leaving it?
Of course I am.
Okay. And what's your reason?
Because there are a lot of people that are wrongly incarcerated.
Even if they're going to relocate the jails?
I mean, hey. If they didn't relocate it, they would build more. So what's the difference? What were those 2 judges that went to jail in Pennsylvania for sending all those children to jail because their friend had built it, and he gave them like $2.1 million in kickbacks?
I didn't hear about that.
Yeah, that's old. That's what, 90 something, 98.
That's crazy.
That's old. Yeah. So, and then when you look at like those brothers in Chicago that spent together about 102 years in prison for crimes they didn't commit. Chicago had a crew called the Midnight Crew, and they tortured these men. They took cattle prods and put it on their testicles and made them write confessions. They took one guy and handcuffed him to the cold water pipe in the basement and broke his teeth out with a shotgun and threatened to blow his brains out if he didn't sign these confessions.
Wow.
The only thing that the leader of this gang got was 4 years for perjuring himself on the stand. But those men lost. They went in young men and came out grandfathers.
Wow.
11 years, 28 years, 30 years. It's a system.
So talk to me a little bit about gentrification. Do you think that's our fault or?
Gentrification is not our fault. If you look at it from the time when the Native Americans was here, they moved around because when white folks came, they killed everything in sight. when you look at the land
What do
allotments.
you mean? They're bringing whole foods, fresh foods and
And
stuff.
yeah,
for us
you
to
better
eat.
check them labels too, because they ain't what they say it is. Got you running around with old tig-o bitties and you a man. Squirting milk on your partner. Squeak, squeak. Yeah. Keep eating that tofu if you want to. Whole Foods. Whole Foods. I mean, Whole Foods.
So, you know, someone was talking to me recently about farming and things like that, and I think farming is good. But what happens when they were saying something about when
Monsanto
the pigs
will not
and
allow it.
the pig but like the pigs and things like that when
Before
they mess, it's still getting into the soil, so it's passing over to.
No.
Okay, talk. I'm a little confused, so I need you to drop the knowledge.
First of all, my great-grandmother Rose, who's the first person I witnessed lived off the land in Yemassee, South Carolina. For those of y'all who don't know, that's Charleston. I'll just say them. We might be cousins, brother. Everybody down there related. So, what she used to do is, in her hog pen, she had it raised. We fed them corn. So it was my job to pick the corn and feed the hogs the corn. So they're vegetarians. So they didn't wallow in their feces.
I thought corn had no nutritional value.
Neither does you see the slop they put in these animals if they ain't cloning them.
Well, that's another thing I wanted to ask you about too.
Please, you think everybody we're eating
the grapes?
Listen,
who eats seedless watermelon?
This is what I'm telling you. Monsanto.
I'm just asking.
Monsanto spent billions of dollars.
Yeah, they're like this.
Grapes.
They're huge.
Monsanto is a company, and anybody can go research Monsanto. Spent billions of dollars lobbying politicians, and they came up with this seed called the Terminator gene. So normally when you farm, you plant the seeds, and whatever seeds are left over, you save them for the next harvest. They made a seed that made these crops. Remember those big tomatoes that was coming out a few years ago? But they didn't leave any seeds. So you had to go back to Monsanto. So now they got a government sanction where you can only go to them. So they have a patent on it. And because they got billions of dollars to spend, they're putting a lot of farms out of business. And years ago, I remember my brother True and I was talking about a young lady in Puerto Rico that was trying to do it, and the government shut her down.
So you mean to tell me, like, if I have property that's really not mine anyway, you already told me about that, right? So I feel like
eminent domain.
I feel like a sucker now. But
no, I mean, we all need a place to live.
Can I grow? Can I farm on the land that I really don't own?
You can farm there, yeah.
Okay, but
you better not try to feed nobody.
I was just about to ask you that, because truth be told, the young lady.
Do you remember the guy that was down here in Manhattan that was feeding the homeless out of a parking lot, and they threw him off the parking lot and wrote him a fine because he was feeding the homeless?
No.
Yo, you guys be missing a lot of stuff.
No,
man.
I don't. That's why you're here, to drop the knowledge.
Listen.
Tell us what we don't know.
Listen. In a nutshell, our economy was built on humanity, right? It wasn't built on capitalism. It was built on humanity. So say if you were the sister that grew corn, my kids would come to the house and take enough for the family. If we had peas, you came to us for peas. If this one had the cow, this one had the goat, we all shared. That was our economic system.
Right.
And we sold whatever else on the market for profit. But first and foremost was the community. That is what true economics is. Not screw you, pay me. Or because you're making more money than me, I got to find a way to ruin you. That is white folks stuff.
So are you telling me if I go and I decide I want to farm on the land that's really not mine and sell it, I should sell it for what I purchased it for, or for a higher price so I can make a profit?
What, the food?
Yeah.
Well, nowadays we're in a capitalistic society. You better get your money.
Or the money that I already spent, or should I get more than?
You should get your money. You should double your money at least. But you normally don't turn a profit anyway until about the third time out.
Because you have to constantly replace what you've already. Okay,
right.
All right. You know I'm gonna ask you.
But Monsanto ain't gonna allow you anyway. They've actually They've actually blew up farms behind that. And see, here's the thing. If their seeds go on your property, they have the government come check it out. And if you're not registered with them, they basically shut you down. When I was in Texas, I lived in North Garland in 94, 95. The farmers down there was fighting for their land because they was talking about building that superhighway that ran through Mexico all the way up to Canada. So that fight's been going on forever.
Do you think it's going to happen?
I don't know, because Texas is a different monster. Like in Texas, the feds bow down to the sheriffs because the sheriffs have jurisdiction over the feds. So matter of fact, they've stood off with the feds. They've had standoffs with the feds down there. But the point of the matter is, I don't care whether you're white or black or brown or purple. The system affects all of us in certain ways because we're not amongst the elite. We're not amongst the 2%. So even white folks who think they got a good career and a good job, you're still being screwed like the rest of us.
So what's going to happen if gentrification continues to expand? Because I know a lot of Europeans are moving to Harlem. A lot are moving to Brooklyn. Todd and I were talking about this whole other area in Brooklyn. I can't recall the name. Whereas it's like this hidden, something like it used to be in Queens, where one side was for the Europeans and the other, you had to cross a bridge, or you wouldn't dare cross the bridge to go over to the other side. Or Rockaway Boulevard. Okay, right. So we see that happening a lot. I don't too much see it happen in the Bronx. I see it in Staten Island. I see it, of course, in Long Island. But they're leaving Long Island to come to Manhattan.
They're leaving Long Island to come to Manhattan because they're tired of their cars breaking down in the snow. They're tired of the long trips with the Long Island Railroad, and that runs outside. So when it snows, they're not able to get there. It's more convenient to live down here or live in Brooklyn, where you're 15 minutes away. And because they have the finances to do it, and because they have the political power to do it, and because a lot of politicians serve them, it happens. It's a system.
So what is going to, I mean, a lot of this conversation, I'm taking it in, I'm internalizing it, but some of it is making me feel a little hopeless. And it shouldn't,
because you have to find, there's always a loophole in everything, right? So when you look at things like Bitcoin, and like I said, a lot of countries are tired of the IMF and the World Bank and the Federal Reserve bullying them into poverty. Now you have hope, because you got to remember, even during Tulsa, Oklahoma, the Asians was willing to trade with us, and that's what triggered the whole demise. White people in general, not all white people in general have this thing about, this world is mine, I own it, I control it. If you look at going back to Europe when they came out of the Crusades.
Is that a fact?
This is a fact. Go back and look at the Crusades. When the Crusades happened, Europeans came out of that land poor, food poor, shelter poor people. When they regained their skills in seafaring, was able to go out, that is when Africa was in trouble. Okay? So the whole idea was to set up these colonies all around the world and send all the finances back to Europe and control all the resources, and then you pin every other nationality against each other so that you can make yourself seem like you was the civilized one and they were the savages, and rewrite the narrative of history, and that's where we are today. But the truth of the matter is, when you was just a barbarian, black people run the world. We civilized you. If it wasn't for us, you wouldn't even know what soap was. Alcohol, hot water. You wouldn't know what a raised street was.
Lights.
Study the Moors. The first university Europeans had, the University of Salamanca, the Moors built it. Before there was a Cambridge or Oxford, there was a university in Africa that gave to the world.
So how do I, as a black woman, obtain wealth?
First thing you gotta do, I'm sorry, Todd, you gotta get rid of Todd right now. No, what it is you are the backbone of the family. You are not a helpmeet. Women scrap that patriarch whitewash crap. You are not behind your man, you are beside him, and you guys roll together. You need the balance of the masculine and the feminine energy to be productive in the creator's world.
That's the healthy relationship, absolutely.
When you are physically, mentally, spiritually at peace, there's nothing you can do. You can see 10 steps ahead, but you have to have that balance. There's no I'm the man and you do what I say, none of that. And men, you have to start listening to your women because they have an intuition that you don't have. They can sense things that you don't sense.
Wait.
I'm just keeping it 100.
Say that one more time.
I'm keeping it 100.
I'm liking this. Wait.
I'm keeping it 100. You have to pay more attention to your women and what they say. And you have to take what they say into consideration because she's with you. She's not against you.
So, happy wife, happy life.
If you're smart, yeah. Unfortunately, I failed that class several times.
But only if she's genuine, of course. You don't want the ones that take your money and are deceitful and do underhanded things. We're speaking about those true, genuine women who really care about, the growth in a relationship, equality.
And I mean, even a lot of those women can be changed. But you have to be on your square. As a man, you have to stand on your square. And you got to know what time it is, period. So are there specific roles that a man and woman play in a relationship, or are they just share the responsibility of everything? You share the responsibilities, but we know that you ain't going to go out there and draw no gun on nobody. The burglar breaks in the house. We don't expect you to be out there with no Desert Eagle trying to take his head off. Well, I don't mind because we went paintballing, and I was... But if I'm in this is the thing. If I'm in the house... all over the place, right? People. If I'm in the house and there's an intruder, the first thing I'm gonna do is make sure that you guys are safe, and I'll take care of it. Okay. Now, if I'm going, baby, he got the gun. Hurry! Now you come down and do your thing. Okay. All right. Emergency situation and that type of. Let's be real. There are some things that will differentiate between the two, but for the most part, you guys work hand in hand because you got to remember there was times when there was no men to lead, and we had women like Ann Zinger who stepped up to the plate and fought the French and fought the Australians. We had women like Harriet Tubman. Those revolutions in Jamaica and Haiti, those wasn't just men. Is there a school that we can send our children to be educated? But I know a school of William Teddy Portwine. Unfortunately, the only ones I know is in Chicago, and there's a brother named Marcus Klein. He's on Facebook, and I follow him very closely. I think he built a school in Atlanta. He's tough with it. Do you believe in what is it, Dr. Sebi? Dr. Sebi? Yeah. Yes, I do. Okay. Because what we don't realize is we have everything in our bodies to heal ourselves, but we're so disconnected from who we were that we no longer have those powers. And because you allow these doctors to talk you into putting all kinds of chemicals into your body, it throws your molecular structure off. Bottom line, you go to the hospital now for a common cold, they want to take your blood. Oh, yes. Because they want to study with your molecular structure. And the vaccinations. And offering you the flu shot. And now they have this other thing with human papillomavirus. Freedom Home Academy. Yeah, that's Mr. Marcus Klein. Shout out to Carell. Thank you, Carell. Brother Marcus Klein is doing his thing. So if you're in the Atlanta area, look him up. And then I believe there's another school in Chicago, the Noma campus. Look those up as well. So I have one more question for you, but before I get into that, I just want to go to Facebook and just give a shout out to everyone who's been tuning in. If I miss anybody, I apologize. So shout out to Lawrence Johnson. I can see Michael Hill. Shout out to my cousin Ron. I have Kim Epps, Judy Morgan, David Nieves,
Adrian Hayes, William Carrington. I'm sorry. Is it Tara Lynette Chester? Rich Watkins, Judy Morgan, Jason Curry, who called in. One more time to Floyd Townsend. Howard Always Coaching.
Yeah, Pop. What's up, Pop?
I'm trying to go down the line. Kevin Hemans or Hamans?
Yeah, Butter. What's up, Butter?
Okay. All right, Butter. Zay Young. We got somebody up there who's Zaire.
Okay.
Okay. All
Z,
right. All right. Tim Bazemore, Pam Shepard, Shamika Stevens Hood. Shout out to Shamika. Renee Davis. I'm trying to go down. Carell. Shout out to Carell. Robin Turner. Eric Wilcox. Mr. Tutt or
Antoine Tutt.
Okay.
Anthony Antoine.
All right. So shout out to everybody who's
What's up,
been tuning in and supporting us.
Primo.
Oh, okay. Who else?
What's up, Primo?
Who else you see up there, Todd, that I can't see?
What's up, Roach? What's up? That's my dog.
Who else?
Charles Mambo.
Okay, Charles Mambo.
Okay.
All right, shout out to Bo. Okay, Rodney.
Super Mario Sweet Equity.
Ah, my dog.
Super Mario Sweet Equities.
That's my man. Can you still dog, homie? By the way, he has a cleaner as well. So, you folks
Magic
want
Williams, shout out.
You folks should use his services. He's a brother from the hood doing his thing. Go check him out.
So I think we probably have a couple of minutes left, and before I want to ask you the question. I'm going to ask it after I say thank you so much for coming out and supporting us on a continuous basis.
Thank you for having me.
The knowledge is just, it's overflowing with you. Again, I don't see how you retain all this information, but it's good stuff.
They make sure I get it.
It's good stuff.
They tie me up in the basement and beat me and make me rehearse this stuff. So I don't come out here.
Who called
embarrassed them.
Who was that? Eric. Who said
Wilcox.
That? It was all Eric's idea. So I want to say shout out to Eric.
It was his idea, but I take the punishment for it.
For Eric, for giving
Cox.
you all this knowledge that
Cox.
you're sharing with us.
That's my
and we need
brother.
more people out there like you. We definitely do. So my final question to you is, I'm not being really good right now. What do you feel about the president?
We have a president? What's his name?
Trump.
Who?
Donald Trump.
I'm going to be honest with you. I like Trump as president. I'm going to tell you why. He pulled the veil back, and now you're forced to deal with reality. And a lot of people that you thought you was your friends, and you see them at the white power rallies now you know where you stand.
Did he pull the veil back before or after?
He did the whole trail. He set it up. But here's what I want people to understand more so than not. He was selected, not elected. And he was selected for a reason. When you have a black president in office for 8 years who's very charismatic and all of this stuff, who did nothing at all for black folks, and you followed him like a cult, when this white man comes and put his foot in your behind, you know what he's going to say? You had a black man there for 8 years and did nothing for you. What you want from me?
Is that true? That Obama did nothing for us?
If I'm wrong, correct me. I did my research. I hope you did yours.
Obviously, I didn't do enough.
He did more for the LGBT community than he did for any black person, and that's a fact.
Well, what about Obamacare?
What about Obamacare? Does Obamacare?
Teddy.
Look, I'm calling it as I see it.
I like Obama.
And I'm not mad at you. I mean, he's a likable. Listen, he's like my politician friends. He's a likable guy, but he sucks at his job.
He was a different type of president.
He was charismatic. He wooed you, and what he did was, a lot of black folks that needed hope, he gave you hope. Because at the end of 8 years, all I keep hearing is, our kids got to see that, and now they can hope to be president.
I think in the time when Obama was president was the time where we should have got up and did a lot more for our communities and for ourselves
we
than what we did.
Always.
I think we were very lackadaisical, some of us.
We should always. The problem with a lot of us is the spirit of cowardice. I'm afraid to talk about the elephant in the room. I want to hold on to something that can be taken from me. I don't want to offend anybody, even though our young black men are being murdered in the street. What I'll do is I'll blame us. I'll say it's black people's fault because it starts in the home. But there's not a black man behind the trigger. That's a white cop. So what happened in that home? Acknowledge one thing if you don't acknowledge nothing else. And I'm going to leave everybody on this. This was planned from day one. It is a system. Stop blaming each other for our demise. It is not our fault. We are simply doing what the host for the past 4,000 plus years of this society has conditioned us to do. Be the savages that they were. Period.
So with that being said, I've been flagged down, and unfortunately, again, we don't have enough time to spend with Teddy. But what I want to say is you've been tuned into Questions, Answers, and Solutions. Thank you so much for your support, your continued support. And Teddy, you want to give your book information really quick before we log out?
Sure. I'm on Amazon.com. You can also go to WilliamTPortwine.com. You can also curse me out or big me up or talk smack. Do whatever you want to do. It don't bother me. Go to the website. Leave some information. Whatever you want to do. You want to give me roses? You want to give me weeds? Whatever you want to do. Shout me out. Big me up. Dog me out. I don't care. Argue with me. Cuss me out. I don't care.
Well, that just gives you more of an excuse to spread the knowledge. So once again, thank you so much for your love and support. You've been tuned into Questions, Answers, and Solutions. I've been your host, Jameer Haywood, with guest William Teddie Portwine. Tune in next Tuesday at 8 p.m. sharp. Good night, guys.